Good afternoon. I am Hassan Al Duhaimi, CEO. The owner for the tower, Sheikh Saud bin Muhammad bin Ali Al Thani, is the owner of the tower. And I came here to say hello and thank you very much for all what's coming, and thank you very much for all my friend is work with me hand to hand. This tower is long time, is 7 years built. Is it? It's longer time. Is it finished in 4 years? We're going to 7 years because many detail in the side this tower. And I said thank you very much. My friend is engineer Hafid. Is go ahead for the many detail inside and is seeing in the movie there. Welcome, Dad. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much to invite us, okay, for the Doha. So the main architect is Nouvel from France. The client is His Excellency Sheikh Saud Al Thani. I would like to introduce also Mr. Peter Terrell, who is our main structural engineer in this project. Sheikh Saud is a member of Qatari royal family and internationally recognized as a specialist of fine art, antiquities, and architecture, actively engaging world-famous architect of many of his projects. He brought Nouvel to Doha to design the Doha Tower. So the development in Qatar has taken an original turn in putting significant emphasis on culture with the declared goal to make Qatar at large and Doha city in particular the cultural pole of the Gulf region. Sheikh Saud commissioned Nouvel to design the Doha Tower located between the new city and the Corniche side. Here, this slide is showing only the situation of Doha over the world. So as I said, Sheikh Saud commissioned Nouvel to design the Doha Tower located between the new city, okay, of offices and the Corniche on the north side of the tower. Today, the Doha Tower dominates the skyline on the Corniche. This is a view of the concept, and I can let Mr. Peter say something.
Good afternoon. Perhaps before talking about the structure of this building, I might just say that it takes a certain amount of balls, if you'll excuse the expression, even in these enlightened and liberated times, to design a building of this particular shape and size. Its elegance is obvious, and the structural concept which you see here with these diagrid columns was based upon Nouvel's requirement to have, obviously, a stable and well formed building, but also not to have any cross-bracing in the facades, which was something that was only achievable by making this diagrid form, which is set back from the facade, because the core itself is, as you will see, both offset and also really quite small, and certainly not large enough or stiff enough to take the horizontal forces. And so, as you see in this picture, the columns are shaded by the moucharabieh and just come as through a sort of cloud and barely perceptible behind the facade of the building.
So the urban approach, okay, which defined the integration of the tower within the city of Doha. So now it's this tower, okay, is very difficult to compete with it, as is shown here. So some views toward the cornice side. Some also views from different angles, from west side, for instance, east side, south, and south, and west, and the view from the north side also. This tower has the particularity to have two facades, the inner one and the outer one. So the outer one is mainly what we call moucharabieh, is a sand protection, okay? And the inner one is a transparent glazed facade offering a view from inside. Some sections.
This section shows how the building, with its eccentric core, has an atrium that goes up to the 27th floor, all around one side of the building, one quarter of the building. And this meant that the stability of the whole, which, as I mentioned, is formed very largely by the diagrid columns. They take well over 75% of the lateral stability of the building. It meant that we had to wrap around this structural stability within a void, and therefore, in order to cope both with the obvious buckling problems for the columns, but also for the bursting forces that a structure of this type engenders in the whole, we put in place a ring beam around the outside of the building, which linked all the columns, provided both lateral stability, but also with post-tensioning meant that we could control the horizontal deformation of the building as it was built and in the long term. Sorry, to continue. The dome, which is formed entirely in structural steel, unlike the diagrid columns, which were conceived in concrete. There was a lot of discussion as to whether they should be in concrete or in steel. And we opted for concrete for two reasons. One was the sculptural aspect, because we could provide fully curved members continuously up the building with, as you will see, the very beautiful and complex shapes that are produced when these columns meet. But when we got to the dome at the top, the dome being, as Hafid will explain, the Sheikh Saud's personal space at the top of the building, we went to a steel structure which mirrors, but in a lighter form, the shape and form of the columns. It should be said perhaps that there is no mechanical plant in this building worth talking about. There is a separate building that contains the whole of the mechanical plant, which enabled us to liberate this space up at the top of the building, which is the most elegant and usable space, particularly for the Sheikh, and that was one of his requirements.
The facades. So the facade is composed of a double cladding, okay? The exterior, which evokes the geometric complexity of 4 butterfly layers aluminium element of different scales. Its overall pattern is different according to orientation and needs of different protection. So this slide shows the component of the facade, which we have here 4 layers with different scale. The first one, the biggest one, is structural one, and is over the whole facade. So according to orientation and needs for different protection, so we comes up with the result to have like a rate of 25% toward north, 40% toward south, 60% on east and west side. So self-explanatory movie, okay. All the components on the facade are contributing to decrease the heat load of the thermal load of the sun. That's detailed here. Those are the implementation on site at real size. So some views from the walkway, the dome. Just if you can explain that.
So the dome, the structure, as you can see, was, as I said, the continuation of the idea of the diagrid columns, made up of stainless steel sections with the same platforms on the outside as in every floor down below, in order to facilitate cleaning of the dome. So on at each floor, as you can see, there is a ductboard all the way around, on which there is a ladder on rails, so that the whole building can be cleaned from the inside without any intervention from the outside. The sunscreen on the outside obviously has allowed the architect to use clear glass, and so the views, both the light from inside and the views from inside, are exceptional for this climate and this particular area of the world.
So as per the requirement of the client, this floor is composed of many functions, okay, as a swimming pool and private area for office, jacuzzi, and many other functions. Some views of the boxes with the solar steel as protection, and some views from inside with the sun protection of the Musharabia. So the pergola is the tower is accessible through a planted garden sloping gently toward the large lobby under perforated aluminium canopy surrounding the building, suggesting that the tower is deeply rooted in the earth. Vegetation and pergola overlap so as to blur the limits between nature and man-made environment. Some views of the pergola and the landscape area, which offer a protection to the visitors, and also to be able to be disconnected from the outside. Landscape. We use mainly local plants as Pittosporum, Lontana, and all local plants. So here the sections show the deepness of the crater, some details, and general plant. So we have 4 underground parking, which taken around 900 parking car place. The lobby area, which Mr. Peter can explain a little bit. Function.
The lobby area begins to show the sort of problems we had on a structural level, but here you see an intermediate level in the lower floors with the on the right hand side the atrium space with the lifts, glass lifts on the outside, and the relatively small core which is offset from the center, as you can see. The columns which are laid out in a circle as you would expect, are not on the same centre as the facade of the building. There are up to 5 metre cantilevers of usable floor to the outside. Each floor had a ring beam, as I said, joining up each of the columns, which is a post-tensioned ring beam. The contractor and the contractor's design office, the China State contracting company, then refined the project in terms of the buildability and the construction sequence, and did, instead of pre-stressing or post-tensioning the entire ring beam on every floor, did partial post-tensioning in order combined with a construction sequence, which was very effective. You can see the form of the columns, which change from floor to floor, and once the other thing that should be said, on each floor, the central area is in composite construction, composite steel and concrete construction, because that way, with the offset core, were large areas of usable office space and relatively long spans. So there was a mixture of reinforced concrete for the columns, post-tensioned ring beams, and then composite construction for the floors.
The owner of the tower requests a special entrance. So this is the design of special entrance, which is not at the same level of the public area. This view is taken from the panoramic lifts, okay, which show the complexity of the structure. So here are some views of the offices area, what we call the low rise. With the luminous ceiling, okay, and galvanized the effect inside with the shadow and the protection from the musharabia. And the upper part, which is the high-rise part, with the same concept. The lighting is another project within this project. So it was designed in collaboration of Mr. Yanker Saleh. So it showed the concept of the lighting, which is the value of the light. So we have only 2 colors. One color which is expressed by the gold, and the cold light which is expressed by the silver. So the concept of the implementation, and here some slides and view of the lighting in by night. They are really view. Thank you very much.